Okay, so we're looking at government relations and public affairs. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try and understand government relations and public affairs. Now, when we understand this, it will help our journey through the course easier. So, what is government relations and what is public affairs? We shall begin with the bigger umbrella, which is public affairs. Now, when we say public affairs, we're talking about an organization or a company's relationship with its stakeholders with the idea to influence public policy and regulation. So, what I mean here is when we're talking about public affairs, we are specifically talking about your relationship, you, the PRO, as the representative of the organization, your relationship with your company stakeholders with the mindset to influence public policy and regulations, that is, laws that have been made that are likely to govern your organization's activities, or policies that have been implemented in the country or region wherever you are that can affect the job or the business that you're doing. Now, the reason this is important is that when you are an organization, you do not function in a vacuum. You function within a certain society, a certain country. And these countries have policies and regulations that guide how they want things done there. So, as a public affairs person, your job is to look for your organization stakeholders. They could be politicians, they could be your customers, your shareholders, the media, the government. These are all stakeholders because when we say stakeholders, these are people who can influence your organization or and the organization's activities can also influence them. So, if these stakeholders are there and you as a PRO, you interact with them with the objective that you want to either get their help to influence public policy or regulation, or you want to interpret or explain public policies and regulations to them so they understand your organization's actions, we say what you're doing is public affairs. So, the public affairs practitioner engages these stakeholders to explain organizational policies to them and the organization's view on certain public policy issues. So, even though the terminology may seem what public policy, what are these issues we're talking about, we're going to look at public policy and what it is as the course develops or as we graduate the course step by step. But we need to first understand public affairs, and that is what we're doing now. When you delve deeper into what public affairs is, it says that public affairs, when you're practicing public affairs, some of the things you'll be doing include government relations, media communication or media relations, issues management, CSR, and what have you, as part of your job as a public affairs officer or manager or representative. Now, you may realize that we say public affairs work combines government relations. And when you look at the last bullet, it says it is often confused with government relations. Now, if it's often confused with government relations, then the question is, what is government relations? That makes people confuse government relations with public affairs. Remember, public affairs is about your institution interacting with their stakeholders with the objective of influencing public policy and regulation. What is government relations about? Government relations is about influencing public policy. Again, You are influencing public policy at all levels of governance. But government relations aims to persuade government officials to change or maintain policies. Now, some of you may have already started seeing the difference. But then what we're saying here is public affairs is a bigger umbrella. And public affairs includes all your organization stakeholders. So government is a stakeholder. The media is a stakeholder. If you're FCMG, FMCG, we can say that your distributors are part of your stakeholders. You understand? And all of these people, you are building a relationship with them to influence public policy and regulation. But when we come to government relations is a subset of public affairs. That one, we are focusing only on one stakeholder, which is the government. So public affairs looks at all the stakeholders. Government relations focuses on only one stakeholder, which is the government, and you're trying to influence public policy and regulation with government, focusing only on government. So that is the difference between these two. Now, I have some sample job descriptions over here. Now, normally job descriptions help throw more light on what is expected of you if you're playing a role as a government relations officer or as a public affairs officer. Now, there are a number of them here, so we'll quickly look at one or two key things in here and then we'll move on. Now, when you look at this sample job description for a government relations officer, you realize that they're expecting you to manage relationship with elected officials, local government staff, community stakeholders. Now, remember when we talk about government, we are not only talking about the president of the country or the lawmakers of the country. It trickles down to even the assemblyman in your local communities and even representatives that the assemblyman selects to make decisions with, they can all form part of government. So, as long as they are part of the government tree, when you are relating with them or you have a relationship with them with the idea that you want to influence public policy, legislation, or regulation, then we say you're doing government relations. Let us take a look at another type which is interesting. This one says that they expect someone who has a degree in political science, business, or related field. Now, the question is, this is public relations we're talking about. So, why are they asking for somebody who has a degree in political science and business and whatnot? Now, people who study political science, of course, because government relations is solely focused on people in government and your relations with them. People who have studied political science, of course, study how to build relationship with politicians or people in government. So that skill is needed over there, and that is why they have indicated that people in the business world as well. But then, of course, when we say related fields, that includes people who have studied public relations or government relations or even public affairs. They all are related fields. Now you'll see over here what some of the skills that are needed for this profession. Excellent writing and speaking skills, because you need to sometimes you may need to write to government, or sometimes you may need to speak on behalf of your company. And so when your writing and speaking skills are excellent, it helps your CV and of course or your chances of getting the job. Now we have great networking skills. If you are building relationship with people in government, of course, I mean generally in public relations, we expect that your networking skills be great. People management skills, information gathering and interpreting. Remember, this is public affairs or government relations. This job, for instance, is for public affairs. And they are saying they need someone who has skill in information gathering and interpretation. Remember that as somebody who is pushing for legislation, somebody who is trying to influence policies, you need to be someone who reads. You need to be someone who knows how to get information. So if a policy is about to be implemented or they are discussing it in parliament, you need to be able to pick information, understand these policies, and then quickly be able to say, submit that I think this policy is awesome, or we think this policy is going to affect these kinds of businesses and whatnot. So you need to be able to gather information, and then when you come across information, you need to be able to interpret information. And some of these skills are learned as you're in your institution. When you're given assignments where you're giving some pages, go and read this and come and do a presentation. All of these things build your information gathering and interpretation skills. For you to read a document and be able to understand what the document expects of you, that is interpretation or interpreting skills. So these are all skills that you're learning as the semesters get along. So you see over here too, they're telling you establish regular contact with politicians. Mind you, these are all different jobs, and I sampled these requirements from each of them just so that you see the commonalities in what is expected from you as a public affairs officer, a public relations, sorry, a government relations officer. So this, for instance, is for the U.S. Air Force, and they were looking for a public affairs officer, and they were saying public affairs officers use their diplomatic expertise to educate the public. So you see, you're educating the public on policies of US Air Force or policies that the US government has implemented that affects the US Air Force. Yeah. Aha. So they serve as a liaison or a connection with media representatives, civil organizations, and other groups to share the story of the US Air Force. Remember, this is public affairs, and that is why the focus is not only on their relationship with government, but their relationship with the media and other stakeholders as well. So I'm hoping this has helped us understand what public relations, sorry, government relations and public affairs is about.